at a particular group.
You don't think you're comfortable with the super rich sheltering their wealth behind land?
Well, what we tried to do was get the balance right and to protect the family farm. Look, what the very wealthy do with their money within the rules is a matter for them. But what we wanted to do was to raise the revenue necessary because we had to not only balance the books in the budget, we had to make important investments in things like health services in schools. That meant we had to raise revenue, and that's why we did this amongst other measures. But at the same time, we wanted to put in thresholds that ensures in the average case, the vast majority of farms, family farms, could be passed on without being affected by the inheritance tax. That was the scheme and the purpose of it.
So how many family farms do you think are going to be caught by this?
Well, we've been through the figures on this, and just to wrap it through.
HMRC say that there were about 500 claims for agricultural property.
The truth exposed. Is this the end for Keir Starmer? What if I told you that Britain's future is hanging by a thread, and the man leading the opposition party just got caught red-handed? Today, we dive into Keir Starmer's grilling session, exposing lies, twisting figures, and his complete inability to defend himself. From the fiery debates in Parliament to the jaw-dropping revelations of inheritance tax changes, this is a story you cannot miss. Let's uncover what they don't want you to know. Keir Starmer, the leader of the opposition, is under fire once again. This week has been nothing short of chaotic for him, as he faced not only tough questions during Prime Minister's questions, but was also grilled mercilessly at the Liaison Committee. Unlike PMQs, where he can dodge and deflect, this time, there was no escape. The public is growing impatient, and Starmer's stuttering responses only added fuel to the fire. This video is not just about Keir Starmer's performance. It's about the cracks forming in Britain's political landscape. With King Charles battling a health crisis and economic challenges looming large, the country is desperate for strong leadership.
Is that a robust figure for those who will be caught?
That is a robust figure. It's published by the Treasury, certified by the OBR. Currently, as I think you know, 73% of APR claims are less than £1 million, and 40% of APR goes to the 7% wealthiest claimants. And therefore, I'm confident that this gets the balance right between raising the revenue that we need it to, but also protecting most of the estates.
The changes apply not just to agricultural property relief, they also apply to business property relief, do they not?
Yes.
Now, in practice, the figure that you've given us, 500 estates there, does not include estates where the land would have been passed on using business property relief, does it?
Well, I think that it does. I'll certainly go away.
No, I can assure you that it doesn't.
Unfortunately, today's events show us just how far we are from that reality, the grilling that exposed it all. Starmer was asked about inheritance tax changes that disproportionately impact the middle class, while the super rich find legal loopholes. He tried to defend the government's stance by quoting HMRC figures, 500 claims for agricultural property relief. But here's the twist. His response was flawed. Experts pointed out that this figure excluded properties using business property relief, a critical loophole for the wealthy. Instead of accepting his error, Starmer stumbled, repeated his talking points, and tried to shift the focus. His discomfort was palpable, and social media erupted with criticism. Is this the man who can lead Britain? The lies in numbers, one of the most damning revelations, was the manipulation of numbers. Treasury figures showed that 73% of agricultural property relief claims were for amounts under £1 million. Yet critics highlighted how 40% of the relief benefits the wealthiest 7%. This contradiction became the focal point of Starmer's grilling. His vague responses left many wondering if he truly understands the policies he's defending, or if he's simply parroting pre-written scripts. The rural backlash, a silent crisis. While Starmer fumbled with numbers, the real crisis is brewing in rural Britain. The farming community, which contributes significantly to the nation's food security, is feeling abandoned. With inheritance tax changes looming, small-scale family farms are at risk of being sold off or dissolved to meet tax liabilities. Farmers argue that the policy unfairly benefits large estates and corporate-owned lands while ignoring the struggles of average families trying to preserve their generational heritage.
Well, the figure of 73% of APR claims less than £1 million is a figure both from the Treasury and certified by the OBR.
As those who have had agricultural property relief. You can certainly come back to it.
Yeah.
If you are satisfied, Prime Minister, that 500 figure is not as robust as it may appear, and a lot of people have changed their mind on that in recent weeks, would you persuade the Chancellor to meet with the farming unions, because she has refused to do that thus far?
Well, I met, as you probably know, with the NFU President just a few weeks ago. I met actually previously on a number of occasions with his predecessor, and there's no issue with meeting. Of course there isn't.
No, but for the Chancellor of the Exchequer?
Well, that'll be a matter for her, but there's no in principle. I mean, I myself met the President of the NFU. I think that.
The National Farmers Union, NFU, has repeatedly called for reforms, but their pleas have largely fallen on deaf ears. This growing sense of alienation among rural voters is not just a political problem, it's a moral failure. For a country already grappling with economic challenges, losing its agricultural backbone could spell disaster. Is this the future Britain wants to embrace? Or is it time for a leader who truly understands the pulse of the nation? The human cost. What makes this issue even more critical is the human side. Family farmers, pillars of Britain's rural economy, are bearing the brunt of these changes. During the committee hearing, witnesses broke down emotionally, sharing how the inheritance tax would devastate their livelihoods. This wasn't just political theater, it was a cry for help. When questioned about meeting with farming unions, Starmer claimed he had already met with the NFU president. However, his refusal to consider policy changes shows a lack of empathy, further alienating rural voters. The grilling reached its peak when Starmer was challenged directly. If your policies are so balanced, why are farming communities on the brink of collapse? His response? A long pause followed by yet another recycled talking point. The room fell silent and it became clear. Starmer had no answers. This moment wasn't just embarrassing, it was symbolic of a leader out of touch with the realities of the people he claims to represent.
Is it an example that you will be encouraging the Chancellor to follow?
Well, the Chancellor will manage her own diary, but I mean, I took the view.
Well, I mean, we're laughing here, but, we had one witness giving evidence to the Select Committee who, when talking about the impact on his farming business, broke down.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people who don't find this funny. How does it make you feel to hear that witnesses were breaking down before my Select Committee?
Well, of course nobody's comfortable with that, but that is why I took the decision to have a meeting with the President of the NFU, to invite him in for a meeting with me, not with a great fanfare, but just for a private meeting so that I could hear for myself first-hand from him as to the points that he wanted to make understandably.
With a view to making changes?
I'm sorry?
With a view to making changes?
Well, no, we've got the policy, we've set out the policy, and I was clear about that, but did I want to hear what he had to say in a respectful way? Yes, of course I did.
As Britain navigates turbulent waters, economic challenges, political scandals, and a royal family grappling with health crises, moments like these remind us of the importance of competent leadership. Keir Starmer's performance today wasn't just a bad day at the office, it was a warning sign. For voters, it raises a crucial question. Can we afford to trust someone who crumbles under pressure? For politicians, it's a reminder that transparency and accountability are non-negotiable. As for Starmer, the road ahead will only get tougher. With public trust dwindling and his credibility in question, the stakes have never been higher. What are your thoughts on Keir Starmer's grilling? Do you believe he's fit to lead Britain, or do today's events prove otherwise? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more hard-hitting political coverage.